Good morning, good people. Well, and bad people. But I mean, are there really bad people, or are there people that do bad things? I think there's both, but that's just my opinion. Because bad people can do good things, and I'm not talking about. I'm going to talk about a Bible story in a minute. So those good and bad people, I'm not talking about Christians and not Christians. I'm talking about genuinely good people in their hearts that do good things because it's a good thing, and they, treat people kindly because regardless, this morning I'm headed to work. It's Friday. It's a fantastic Friday. I woke up. I think this time change has me a little wacky waking up in the morning. The past 2 days, I have not really wanted to get out of bed. I mean, more than normal, but just groggy feeling. Yesterday, groggy feeling, but in a decent mood. This morning, when I first woke up, I was groggy feeling, and I was in a really, oh, not a really bad mood, but I was just in a not so good mood. I wasn't mad about anything or upset about anything. It's just like one of those days where you wake up and your mind is not finished waking up. You just want to sit there and regroup and refocus to be able to think straight. Yeah, that was me this morning. And I'm better now. This is my second cup of coffee. There's coffee. I like taking coffee with me on my way. Even though by the time I drive my hour drive, I've got to go to the bathroom so badly. Yeah, pretty bad. Oh shit! Why my lights off? I better turn my bright lights off, and I turn all my headlights off. Yeah, it's that kind of morning. You get it? You get it? That kind of morning. Sit to the stop sign, so turn my bright lights off because there's cars coming. I want to be behind them. I just turn all my headlights off. I just turn them off. Look in front of me. Darkness. Okay. Good morning. And as we know, as I'm driving this way, I'm going to go over this little bridge. And I possibly will lose some kind of contact. It might not be too bad. I don't know because I'm not on the other end of the speaker. Yesterday, it actually lost Wi-Fi service, but it was a really kind of cloudy, gloomy day, rainy. Most days, I can still talk and still see that it says live, still see myself, but it may have like a low amount of connection, and I may sound like a robot or something else. But I'm crossing over the bridge now, so I should be back up to where. Slow down, little buddy. Okay, so now I'm coming back up to where I should get good service. I told that car to slow down, not you, not the one pulling out in front of me. Okay, so being bold. Now, while y'all are listening to this, I want you to kind of think of a time that you feel like you could have stood up for somebody or something. It's something you're passionate about, something you believe in, something you have more education or experience on, and someone else is talking about it. Okay, so in recovery, there's some people outside of recovery that don't understand. And they may be like, well, you can have just one. Just make sure you drink off both stomachs, a little something and wine something. So sorry. Can't do that. Well, maybe it's just a wine cooler. Would that be better? No, can't do that either. Why? Because the way I like to explain it the best is I have an allergic reaction. Okay. I have an allergic reaction. And once I put a substance, one that my body's allergic to, because I've taken medication, like for mental health. I forgot to take one of my pills today. But they're nothing narcotic. But I've had to take something that was a narcotic, and it didn't trigger that response. It's certain substances that trigger that response. Well, I know which substances those are, and they're anything that's illegal, fully illegal. So I don't use them. So when somebody says, like, okay, y'all heard me talk about Father Martin, be on guard against the unguarded moment. Something else he said is like, if you ever end up in a situation that somebody comes up to you and says, well, hey, let me buy you a drink. You know, instead of saying, no, I'm an alcoholic, I can't drink, if you're embarrassed about that, then say, oh, I'd love to, but then I usually throw up on the person beside me. Or, no thanks, but I'll take the money. That gets them. I know this because I was moving from Macon and somebody came up that I've been using with, and they're like, hey, I got this. And they showed it to me, and my mother and a friend of ours was there, and we were cleaning up things at the house and stuff. I said, no thanks, but I'll take the money. They left. Do you believe that? Never heard from them again. So, hey, it works. I used it, and it works. So we're going to be bold today. When there's somebody approaches you and they want you to do something that is not really what you want to do, you're going to be bold. You're going to say no. When I was reading an article, I just skimmed over it. How like teaching kids the 7 habits that help kids develop strong mentalities or something. And basically one of them was, not doing something they're uncomfortable with. Not like teaching them how to say no to not do stuff they're uncomfortable with. And when I was scanning over the list, and that was just one of the sections. There was 7 sections, 7 things. I was thinking, wow, this is what adults need. And it took me until I'm 43 years old to read an article stating that that's how kids should be raised too. So I think that's where a big breakdown happens. Kids are raised as kids, not to think or act like adults. But once you're an adult, you got to learn all these skills of how to think and act like one. And you're expected to be an adult. And you can't, because you did not learn those skills. You did not learn how to effectively carry yourself in different circumstances. All you learned how to do was what your mama told you to do. That's what you learned how to do. And the other thing you learned how to do was disobey your mama and do whatever you wanted to do, regardless. It wasn't any effective management skills on your own mentality. It wasn't, hey, okay, so if people are saying something to you, if I ask you if you want to go to the store with me and you don't want to go, it's okay to say, no, I don't want to go. Not, oh, why not? Not keep on about things like that. If I ask you, if as a kid, this is as a kid. Now, as an adult, you probably make your own decisions anyway. But what did it take for you to get to the point that you could say no, or that you can make your own decisions? And I use the story as this because growing up, we always went to the grocery store, and we always had to go. And then as we got older, it was kind of like an obligation to go to the grocery store. Well, it took me years before the day my mother said, you want to run to the store with me? And I said no. She was surprised, but she was kind of relieved, I guess, too, and she was okay with it because it was me. I didn't want to. She didn't ask me, will you? Because there was several times that she said, you want to do this? No, I don't want to, but I will. So it's just, so I mean, if you don't want to, we don't teach kids how to effectively manage things. That's one group that people need to stand up for is children. There's so much evil and bad things going on in this world, and children are they really get the brunt end of it, because a lot of times when situations happen, the kids just get thrown around back and forth. So we stand up for kids. We're bold for kids. Um, Anybody that's in a subgroup of people that's treated differently, if we're in a situation that we see that person being treated differently based on, well, really based on anything, then that's where we're bold. We stand up for them. So when we stand up for somebody, it might risk a little conflict or something, but if we're right about it, then it shouldn't risk anything too significant. Not really. One thing that Esther, in the story of Esther, okay, so the Jews were supposed to be the high and mighty, perfect people. They learned scripture, they read scripture, they grew up memorizing the Bible, Old Testament, this and that. Well, at one point, they were, I don't remember. Okay, so I don't remember the whole details of this. But Esther and Mordecai were in a subgroup of people who were not being treated equally. Mordecai is Esther's uncle. I wish I had my paper with me because I could look at it. And they were in this town. So in this town, the king ended up having this kingsman, a man that kind of rode in front of him, announced he was there, did all his little odds and ends, dirty work and all that stuff. Well, he didn't like, I want to say that Esther and Mordecai were Jews. He didn't like Esther and Mordecai's people. So he got the king to sign something saying that they all had to bow down. Y'all listen, okay, so let me see something real quick. Because I came unprepared. Like straight up unprepared. I mean, the point is still the point whether I'm prepared or not, because I really know what the point I'm trying to get to is. And I can say it without knowing where these people are from. And no, I'm not going to just reread while I'm driving. I'm just going to try to look at something real quick. All right, that is too small. Okay, so what, dang what, babe? Dang what? I see you said dang. What I did was if my lights turning off and I'm just now getting the message, or the fact that I have no audio, or the fact that I picked up my Bible to try to read it while I'm driving, that I'm not going to. Anyway, point is, Esther stood up. The king's man was going to kill all of Esther's people because he had a law, had the king sign a law, and then when the Jews or the Gentiles, Esther's people, okay, so when the Esther's people did not follow the law that they would worship a certain God, they chose to worship their own, then the king's man was going around and he had in the law that they could all be killed. Well, Mordecai found out about it because he helped the king too. Mordecai found out about it, and Esther was chosen as one of the king's wives. He had a few. He had a main one, and then he had some other ones. Few of them. So Mordecai convinced Esther to ask to be in the king's presence and to tell him what was going on. And then, but to do this, it meant Esther could have been killed. Just to ask to be in the king's presence, she could have been killed. Much less to speak on something like that. Well, long story short, she was his wife. She asked to be in his presence. She asked to speak to him. She spoke to him. She told him what was going on. And everything switched up. Everything. Now, it ended up, the man that was trying to do all that, he ended up being the one killed. And Mordecai ended up taking his place. And Esther, the king's wife, still. And all their people were saved. Now, you're not going to be faced with a situation that's going to have you risk your life, more than likely. Not going to be in a situation that's going to have you risk your life in order to speak to someone so that you can get the truth out. And if you do, you're probably not going to, your uncle is probably not going to get to take the place of the man that got blasted. All right. Okay, for instance, this situation, real situation, something I had recently. I sent a message to my supervisor about something about off day or something like that. And then she replied, okay, but I'm going to have to talk to Scott about this. And so I replied back to her with a whole thing. All right, well, hopefully he'll see this as a significant reason and this and that. Well, I tagged him in. I CC'd him in the email because I wanted to be a part of the conversation. And then Scott accidentally emailed me instead of her and said, didn't we already go through this? And I responded back to him, and because I wasn't finished, I was being bold. I wasn't being mean. I was being bold, and I was just telling the facts of everything. I didn't go into long detail. Yes, I'm the one that's already been spoken to about this, but I'm also the one, and then when I was spoken to before, it was about instances that were approved, even though they were written down as an instance, but they were approved. Shouldn't have been on that paper. I said, I'm also the one that when I'm called, whenever I go wherever I need to go. Well, I send that back to him. I never heard another word. Never heard another word. Okay, so that was me being bold, not mean, not obnoxious. That's different. Being bold. It comes from right in here when you know something is not right and you're able to speak up for it. There's times, think about in the movies, the kid that sits by himself and gets picked on. Being bold. When I was helping with the youth at the church, local church, there were kids that through learning in the youth, learning how to be better people, that they would go sit with that kid, or they would talk to that kid, or they would say something to them. There was kids that would do that. That's great. So they risked being an outcast in order to stand up for somebody. For a kid, a teenager, y'all, that is huge. But then you got us adults over here. Sorry. Well, I ain't gonna do it, y'all. That's not my business. Nope, not my business. Nope. Look the other way. Turn your nose up at it. Different things. Be bold. Not rude, obnoxious, mean, bold. Use your boldness wisely. You don't know how to respond to something or somebody. You don't know how to stand up to something or somebody. Think about it a little bit. Talk to some people. Get different situations that can happen, and the process that you go through regardless. Think out of a few things that might happen as a result of you being bold, and figure out a post being bold plan if you need to, just so that you know that no matter what happens, you have a plan. Um, I'd be bold. There's a lot of people in this world that are treated different. A lot of people that are treated different. And people, we can stand up. We can stand up and look out for people who cannot look out for themselves. If you have the ability to look out for somebody, to do something that helps protect somebody, and you're choosing not to, you're just as bad as the situation for the person that's coming at them. That's okay. All right. Now, not sure what people are going to be thinking about this, but I'm going to kind of end on this one. So that's the same thing of saying there's good police officers. I believe there are. But if they're not standing up and protecting people who are being treated wrongly, then they're just as bad as the ones that are treating them wrongly. If you have the opportunity to be bold in a respectful way and stand up for somebody who is not in the wrong but is being treated wrong, I'm not talking about police now, I'm talking about anybody. I'm talking about you. You have a chance. Whether it's somebody being picked on or shunned at work, whether it's somebody being talked about behind their back at work, you have an opportunity to be bold for that person. And if you don't use that opportunity to be bold for or to whatever the situation is, then you are just as bad as the situation or the person. I know you can't be a situation, but you're just as bad as the person putting that other in the situation they're putting them in. So let's think of just, think of a time, think of your day, think of what's coming up, think of the people that seem like they're, a little bossy or bold or whatever. Think about the people that you're going to be in contact with. Are any of those people being treated differently? Is anyone you're in contact with being treated differently based solely on something that they have no power over, or based solely on a choice that they have and they like, based solely on the choice that they make? It's not affecting anybody else. It's only their choice. They're not trying to make somebody else choose that or do that or be that. They can't change the facts, but they're being treated wrong because of it. If you do not stand up in some sort of way and be bold, it can be accepting that person and letting them know they're accepted the way they are. It can be standing in between that person and the person that just keeps saying stuff to them. It can be writing that person up, like not really writing them up unless you're the supervisor, but it could be like getting a message to the supervisor, letting somebody know what's going on. Don't act like it's not happening. Don't act like it's not there. If you see something going on and you don't do something in order to make the situation better, then you're just as bad as the person that's causing the situation. Do you want that on your shoulders? So next time you think it's okay to say, oh, well, no, that's not my business. That ain't got nothing to do with me. It does. Because we're created for each other regardless of what you believe. And let me tell you, there are probably more atheists that live by Christian values than Christians do. So, I'm a Christian, and I try to live by Christian values. But I can tell you, there's a lot of them that live by tradition and not by the actual words that are in the book they're supposed to believe. Read the book. Study the book. If you're a Christian, read the book, study the book, know the book, know that it's about God's love, know that it's about treating other people with love. And the saying, hate the sin, not the sinner, is a good saying. It is a good saying. You can disagree with something people do without making them feel like crap because they do it. All those people with the picket signs or yelling at people as they go into an abortion clinic, I don't think abortion is a good thing. I don't think I would ever have an abortion. But is the person walking into the abortion clinics less important than the baby? I mean, are they insignificant? Do they not matter? Are they not a person? Are they not a human being that also Christians are called to love? Are they not that? I mean, because if they're not that, go ahead. Treat them like crap. But if you're going to stand up for an unborn life, why don't you love the life that's carrying it? Why don't you get to know the person that's going through that? Everybody has their different beliefs. I have my different beliefs. I have my beliefs. I don't think it should happen unless of certain circumstances. But I also don't think adopting a child should be 10 grand. Okay? So having a kid, having an abortion is so much cheaper than adopting a kid. Make the abortions 10 grand and adopting a kid some grant that you can get. Okay, add adoption services to Planned Parenthood. I mean, hey, because what kind of plan? Adopting a child is planning, and you planning to be a parent. Why can't adoption services be under Planned Parenthood? I'm just saying, they do have services for people who are planning to be parents and do want to have the children. They do have services. They do have birth control. They do have services to help young mothers. It's not just about, but you get what I'm saying. No life is more or less important than another. No life is less important than yours. Therefore, why are you and we not speaking up for these lives? Why are we not being bold for the people who are being shunned and criticized and judged, regardless of the reason? Think about that as you go through the day. Think about your chances to be bold. Be a watchful eye. Be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of how people are being treated. And if you are the one being treated wrong, you are the one being treated wrong, don't retaliate. Don't retaliate. Because then it looks bad on you. Not being treated wrong, go through the right channels to either move your situation to another situation, change the situation, and stay in it. If you want more talk about that and want to get to know more about that, then please go to my website, www.growbettercoach.com, and go to the contact me. Send me a message. Sign up for the goals. Go to my email, gb at like grow better with Coach Bell at gmail.com. So talk to me. Let's figure out something. And with that, I hope you all have an amazing day. Goodbye.